Welcome to another episode of Becoming Limitless. On this episode, I have someone that's really special. He hails from Australia. Well, not anymore. He moved to Dubai recently. He's accomplished in so many different ways. He's done over 300 episodes on his podcast. He has his own supplements company. He's incredibly respected online for the way he supports and embodies wellness and well-being in general. My guest is Lucas Aoun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to chat.
I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
I caught you fresh off the boat, so to speak.
Yep. Still suffering from a little bit of jet lag.
Yeah. We'll chat a little bit about that because I think you have some tips about how you manage that major move and then your impression of the place. And so because you know this place, a lot of people do what you do. And especially in our space, in the wellness well-being space, it's now a magnet. It's the center of that. So a lot of people are moving to be able to, have a greater impact on their message for, to put forward their message, to do more, if you like, in general. So let's start with the move. I think this is fresh. So I know last week we chatted a little bit and you were having issues with sleep and food and all of that. So I know you're very particular and I know you take these very seriously. So what have you learned? What tips do you have for people?
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing that I've learned in the first week, the transition, I understand it's going to be a bit of an adjustment. But for me, I found sticking to a pretty similar routine has been the biggest thing for me. So that's like first thing in the morning, if I can do some form of exercise, going to the gym, still doing my workouts, framing it and locking that in every single day helps me to like use that and embed that as part of my routine. So that's been one thing. The other thing is making sure that I'm trying to go to sleep and wake up roughly at the same time each day, because that's obviously going to help with circadian rhythm alignment. And then trying to go back to the foods that I would typically eat back in Australia. So that's, for me, it's like sticking to the same vegetables like carrots, onions, and then sticking to the same sort of foods, sourdough bread, beef, steak, things like that. But yeah, it's been a massive adjustment so far.
Yeah. What about socially? Because we discussed that a little bit too. And I think we both agreed how amazing the community is here and how welcoming they are, right?
Yeah.
So how was your experience with that?
For me, it's like, I actually found that in the first week or so being here, I need to really adjust the way that I communicate, because back in Australia, we use slang quite a lot, and even there's just a certain way of going about things and like communicating. So for me, I feel like at the moment I'm more observational. I'm just trying to understand how do people like, in terms of like using manners, just basic like social etiquette.
Of course, yes.
I'm just trying to understand like the social dynamics.
Yeah.
But I think after a month or so, I'll fully feel fluent. And I'll just be like second nature.
And that sort of thing affects your well-being, because you get a little anxious, right? About, am I saying the right thing? I don't want to, sort of offend anyone or say the wrong thing. So it affects your well-being. And I find that a lot of these things go unnoticed and people don't realize why they're so stressed and not able to go into a routine. But you'll see once everything falls into place, you're going to absolutely love this space.
Yeah, you're spot on. I think that like of feeling like I socially fit in. Back in Australia, I always felt like I had my group of friends. I've got my, fellow content creators. Whereas here, because I'm in that sort of observational mode, I'm just sort of adjusting. And I feel like I'm a little bit on the outside, but I'll make my way in, I'm sure.
Yeah. So let's discuss your routine. So your wellness routine. What is it that you do? Because I know that you're incredibly thorough with what you do and how you do things to stay healthy and fit and all of that. So what sort of tips do you have for men specifically about staying healthy, fit, and biologically young?
Yeah, so there's been a few things that have stayed as like staples as part of my protocol. The first one that I want to point out is as soon as I wake up in the morning, making sure that I'm hydrating as soon as I get up. It's usually the first thing that's on my mind because I can tell because after I've used the bathroom, my urine is very dark, so clearly I'm like dehydrated. Yes. So that's a clear sign. It's like for the one intervention that's going to lead to the biggest bang for buck, in terms of intervention, is going to be hydration.
Right.
So that can be with just like some pink salt or Celtic sea salt with a bit of about 750 mils of water as soon as I wake up. And then what I like to do is actually, if I'm not heading off to the gym, then I'm going straight onto my treadmill.
Yeah.
And I'm getting in this is what I was doing back at home, is like straight onto the treadmill, getting 10,000 steps before my first meal.
Right.
So for me, that was a great way to warm up, like get the lymphatics going, similar to what we're doing here with
yes, exactly. Yeah.
With the Normatec. But I found that's really good for like when I'm doing emails on my computer, just I'm simultaneously smashing out work and getting in my steps at the same time.
Yeah. And I see, like, I follow your journey for quite a while, and we've chatted before many times and all of that. And now you have a little more focus on a particular super important organ, the liver, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me, what have you learned about that? And can you give us some of the tips that you worked around? What is the best supplement, for example? So tell me everything that you've found so far in relationship to the liver.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm so interested in optimizing liver health is because I'm starting to understand that it's like the hallmark organ that regulates blood sugar levels, fat metabolism. It also helps with detoxifying, pollutants, chemicals, xenoestrogens, and then also helping with balancing hormones. Now, that final segment there with the managing and optimizing hormones, the liver is incredibly important for actually building resilience in the body. And if you look at the traditional Chinese medicine, the TCM philosophy of liver health, they say that it's like the house of emotions.
Right.
It can also influence people waking up during the nighttime between like 1 and 3 a.m.
Yep.
So I think for me, the number one focus has been, what am I doing every single day to optimize liver function? And for me, it's actually using a supplement that I've studied quite extensively called TUDCA. Mm-hmm. You may have heard of it. It's a bile acid.
Yeah.
And the benefit of TUDCA, for people listening in, one of the most crucial aspects of optimal liver functioning is actually bile flow. Mm-hmm. And that comes from the gallbladder. It releases bile. And bile is basically like the garbage truck in your liver. So it helps to remove waste and toxic byproducts. And many people that struggle with like a high fat diet, the ones that say they feel bloated and they feel just indigestion after fatty meals, could be a sign that they're not producing enough bile. And that's where TUDCA steps in as like a really powerful bile acid.
Amazing. I mean, obviously, it's a combination of these different systems working together, right? So, but perhaps, as you rightly said, the liver is a key organ, undoubtedly. And so many people suffer from fatty liver. They suffer from all sorts of situations. How would you detoxify a liver? What do you do yourself to detoxify your liver? I mean, it is an incredible detoxifier. This is the main detoxifier of the body, with the skin and a few other things, but mainly it's the main thing. So what do you do to help it stay the strong detoxifier that it is?
Yeah, so there's a few antioxidants that work quite well.
Yeah.
So the basic ones are like vitamin C, vitamin E. They help to recycle and replenish glutathione levels. Now, glutathione is the master antioxidant, but I really want to point out another nutrient, they're calling it the longevity vitamin.
Right.
It's called L-ergothioneine.
Yes.
And it was actually brought to market by my mentor, Sean Wells. And the trademark name is Mitoprime. So L-ergothioneine in some of the initial studies, it actually suggested to be up to 34 times more potent than glutathione.
Wow.
As an antioxidant. So, and what's interesting is that our body actually already has transport systems for this molecule, which means that it's clearly a very essential, like nutrient. And it's actually heavily found in like mushrooms, wheat bran, and a few of these foods. So it's one of those longevity vitamins that I think people should keep an eye out for.
Yeah. And obviously keeping your microbiome as solid as possible, because I think for you also with the move, you focus on that quite a bit. Like I heard you said, you eat onions, for example. This is an incredible microbiome supporter to keep for your immunity strong, because this is where our immunity live, right?
Yeah.
So, so if these two systems, if we're able to kind of work or keep on strengthening them, we're most likely going to be okay as far as what our immunity is like. Because what I found with most people is that they have either issues in their microbiome or their liver, some in their kidneys, because most people here don't drink enough water, or they don't realize that they need that much water, because being in an AC environment, it's still dehydrating. So even though you don't sweat, it's still dehydrating you. And then these moments of being in the heat also. So a lot of people that I see, their kidneys are not optimal. So combining these systems together, I think it's super important. But I'm fascinated of how you look at things, because once you zero in on one thing, you go all out and you find everything. So I've always admired that about you. So you've also founded your own supplements company, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So for many, many years, I've been talking about novel ingredients, interesting supplements, sharing new research on new supplements. And I've always had the mission and goal to release my own supplement range, because I've got so many great formulation ideas.
Right.
But it's no use if they're sitting on an Excel spreadsheet.
Of course, yeah.
And they haven't actually hit the market. So back in November last year, I've released my own supplement brand, and it's called In Before. The premise for the name, the idea behind the name, which fortunately is also trademarked now in the US, Europe, and Australia.
Nice.
Which is awesome. The premise behind the brand is I want to be releasing ingredients in before everyone else.
I see.
So being first to market.
Right.
With some of these cutting edge ideas. So the very first product that we launched was a particular herb that's very famous in Brazil.
It's a root, no? Is it
It's a bark. It's a bark.
bark. I thought it was a root. Yeah, it was my bad.
They do use the root for some other medicinal aspects, but the bark is where some of the alkaloids build up, and it's an energizing, sort of like an energizing adaptogen. Yeah, that's how I like to describe it to people.
Yeah, I mean, I tried it when it first came out. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like maybe one of your first.
You were
customers.
one of the first. Yeah.
So I tried it again. It's amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And we also sold them at Restore, and they went off the shelves like this.
Incredible.
So people loved the energizing aspect of it. And I think it helps with libido too, right? Like in general.
Yeah. Historically, the bark itself has been used as an aphrodisiac. And in some of the old ancient texts, the shamans would say that they call it katwaba is what gives strength to the man. So it's considered to be an aphrodisiac. And it's no surprise because it works on the dopamine system. Yeah. Any sort of herb that can activate the dopamine system is going to have an impact on, mood, libido, focus, and drive, things like that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, men's hormones. We had one of the episodes where we talked about andropause, and we talked about all of these different things that men go through, and men perhaps are not as vocal about, what's happening with them, and they take sometimes things for granted. So in your experience, what do you do to optimize your hormones?
Yeah, so male hormonal health is a big area of focus of mine because unfortunately, testosterone levels are on the steady decline.
And they do anyway as we age, right? So
yeah, after the age of 30, testosterone levels do start to decline. But what's happening now in our environment, we're exposed to things that are lowering testosterone levels dramatically. And so many guys will come to me, they're like, Lucas, what should I be doing to optimize my testosterone? And I usually start with focusing on like 4 to 5 key pillars. So the first one is optimizing sleep, which I know you're a big proponent of.
Yep.
You understand the importance of high quality sleep, not just for testosterone, but for overall health.
It's
recovery, growth hormone.
Everything.
So good quality sleep, 7 to 9 hours, uninterrupted, high quality sleep. Second to that, I would say the foods in which you eat on a daily basis will either have a positive effect or a negative effect on testosterone. And so fortunately, the Mediterranean diet is actually full of foods that are very beneficial for testosterone, which is like, your vegetables, your meats, seafood,
your olive oil, your like a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Even butter's another one, or ghee as well.
Yeah.
So these foods are generally considered beneficial. The foods we need to be avoiding is the common foods that, processed foods, high GI carbohydrates, things that are high in vegetable oils. So canola oil, soybean oil, safflower, you speak about that. So just trying to avoid those. And then from a supplemental perspective, there's a few key supplements which there's some ingredients that I'm a big fan of. And fortunately, as part of my supplement brand, that's coming soon.
Oh, nice.
So I'm actually releasing a TUDCA, a liver support supplement, and also a testosterone formulation.
Nice.
Which I can't wait to get to market.
Right.
But there's a few great ingredients we can share. First one is boron.
Yep.
So about 6 to 10 milligrams per day of boron. Then the other ingredient that's worthwhile integrating is a herb from Malaysia called Tonka Ali, which is beneficial because it increases free testosterone. And then there's actually another one which is based on the principle of organ meats.
Right.
So actually desiccated testicle extract. So you've probably heard about the benefits.
And general organ powder and all of these kind of help. But also, I found also that it's what is really important is for you to check your deficiencies. Because if you're deficient in zinc, for example, if you've taken these, they may not help you as much. So you need to do your initial blood tests, understand what's happening, and don't be afraid to go and check these things. Speak to a specialist. Understand what's happening with your hormones. Before you start taking stuff and that perhaps may not help you. Or may cause adverse effects. Now there are lots of beautiful natural stuff like what you're doing that naturally kind of help the function, your endocrine function to work a little bit better for you. And I found if you pair that, as you rightly said, with a diet, good sleep, and perhaps equally as important, if not a little bit more important, is muscle mass and actually working out. You're going to be okay, most likely. Now, obviously, there are other factors. It's never that simple. It's never one thing that will right. So there's always other things. For example, your stress levels. How are you socially? Do you have people that you can depend on? Do you have opportunities for your career? That the social determinants in your life play an important role also of keeping you positive and motivated, which then leads to your biology to work a little bit better by perhaps indirectly improving your sleep, which then works on something else. So it's
all linked.
It's a whole It's a holistic thing.
Even success in career as well. Some guys I've consulted where they've done really well in business, and then we've taken their blood test results. Testosterone's through the roof. Because they've made a lot of money. They've done really well. It's actually translated biologically as well. Especially if it's done in a field that you really enjoy. So being fulfilled, be it in your career, in your professional life, in your personal life, plays an incredible role to keeping your testosterone in good health. But as I said, don't be afraid to find out a little bit more about what's happening within your body. And if you're doing the basics, if you're eating well, if you're sleeping well, if you're moving, you're most likely going to be okay, unless you have, extenuating circumstances. But as you said at the beginning, it's rampant
Every guy that I meet has some sort of issue.
Yeah.
And then you have the other extreme where people overwork, they overtrain. I don't know if you've come across that, because obviously that I'm huge on recovery. I think it's really underrated and people put it aside, and it's never really talked about, or hardly ever talked about. You get lots of conversations on nutrition, on sleep, on working out, on muscle importance, on all sorts of supplements. But for you, I mean, obviously with sleep, it's a major recovery player. But I'd love to understand, how do you pay attention to your recovery? What is it that you do?
Yeah, there's definitely some critical biomarkers that I pay attention to. Heart rate variability is a critical one for me. Personally, if I start to see that dropping below 70, for me personally, that means that I'm probably overreaching or overtraining. Some other tools that I integrate for recovery, every now and then I'll integrate like saunas. I'll do some degree of just very low intensity exercise, even just going to the gym and just being on the bike, low intensity for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Doing interventions like this, Normatec boots. If I had my own pair, I'd be using them more frequently. It's probably something I should get. But yeah, integrating things that are like low intensity, low effort, they're beneficial for me as well.
Amazing. Because I think everyone is a little bit under-recovered.
Yeah.
We don't spend enough time alone. We don't spend enough time in nature. We don't walk outside as much, especially here, because there's so much going on. It's such a vibrant place. I'm sure you've felt it already, and you know that really well. You could literally be, doing so much all of the time. So finding time for yourself, or being, in nature. I make an effort to go hiking at least once a month, where I go up to the mountains. I was there actually yesterday on Sunday.
Awesome.
All of these kind of play a role, and as long as another way of saying basically what I'm trying to say is that there are no big movements that will contribute to your well-being. They're the small moments. Your true well-being takes shape in the unimportant moments. It's the small stuff that you do on a regular basis, the small decisions that you make throughout the day. As you said at the beginning, the structure for your sleep schedule, the people that you surround yourself with, toxicity being either through chemically or with people, So as long as you keep that under control. But then what I always say also is that when it comes to external stuff, there's a certain control that you could have over it, but not much, right? Everything seems as if it's trying to kill you, right? So, glue in furniture, paint, mold, air quality, water, everything seems, to be trying to kill you. So if you worry about that, there's not much that you can do. There's so many things that you can do, but not everything. My key is the balance between trying to control the environment that you can, like, for example, the air quality in your bedroom, for example. I can do that, right? Or the quality of my sleeping arrangement, the dark, being no light in the space, the cooling of it, etc., sticking to a schedule, whatever. But also the other side is focusing also on your immunity. So that's why our discussion today is so, I think, complete between the external and the internal, and kind of putting them all together.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Well, for me, it's to continue developing my presence online, continue releasing more content, educating the world, stepping onto stages. I've got a TED Talk coming up here in Palm Jumeirah, which is going to be exciting. And then also just expanding my supplement range. Like, that's always been my long-term goal, my legacy. I really want to impact the world by leaving incredible formulations that people can benefit from.
Of course.
And just empowering people with the tools that they need to optimize their health.
Yeah. And we're going to be at and some events together too, right? So quite a few things together. So I'm awesome. I'm so happy that you are in town. And I think there's a lot that we can do together. And I think you're going to contribute to everyone's well-being. And I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
What do you think of these boots, by the way?
Yeah, I was just about to say how incredibly strong the pressure is.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how I feel once I step off, because I had DOMs before I started. So it's going to be interesting to see how the DOMs are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love these. I think they're incredibly good for like lymphatics.
Lymphatic, and they release lactic acid also, so your DOMs will be better. Ideally you will want like 30 to 40 minutes of using them. You've only had these now for like 30 minutes, so you should feel the impact and you'll feel lighter. And also what works best for me is blood circulation. So when I feel kind of like a little lethargic or get tired towards the end of the day, I use them, and it's incredibly refreshing.
It's awesome
because it boosts blood flow to the brain and so many other things like that.
Awesome.
Well, Lucas, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Elie.
Thrilled to having you. And I look forward to doing so many different things together. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for welcoming me here and making me feel at home.
Of course.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, here you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.